Hello, peoples. Welcome to the Stoked Bloke Show, the first one coming to you from my shed, a very special edition where we're alternating and doing remote interviews with people who we don't necessarily have to have them in the studio. Today's guest, our very first guest, is Stephen Downs from Newquay, Cornwall in England. He is an avid surfer, a man with a fantastic story, an inspiring story. Steve, welcome to the show, mate.
No, we do, Barton. Stoked
You're here,
to
mate.
be the first guest in the shed, man. What an honour.
Yeah,
What an
first guest
honour.
in the shed. So good to be able to connect with you. We connected through social media, and I was so impressed by what you've been through, mate, and the positive, stoked way that you live your life today, mate. Your introduction to surfing, mate, how did you come across surfing? How did you find surfing?
So, I was born in England, but my parents emigrated to Australia, I think in '83, up Newcastle Way, just sort of off Lake Macquarie. My mum was a nurse, my dad was a civil engineer. My dad couldn't really get full-time employment, and the beach is free, isn't it?
Right.
And we would spend a lot of time at the beach. I guess, I don't know if it's a process of osmosis or whatever, where you're seeing people go in the water and you're just drawn to it, aren't you? And first board, as we spoke about yesterday, was some either from Target or Kmart. Didn't have any fins in it, just had a great big sort of maybe 3-inch channel down the bottom that I guess would display some water. And then got another board, probably from Target. Still got it in the garage, actually. Like a foam board, but it's kind of wrapped in some sort of man-made fibre, isn't it?
The Hanamex ones, like that.
Yeah, the Hanamex.
Yeah.
Single fin, single rubber fin. Redhead Beach, obviously home to the legendary Australian surfer Cole Smith. And at the time, obviously, early 80s, Mark Richards was the Wounded Gull.
Yeah.
And just started going in the sea. And I think, as I said to you yesterday, first few times I stood up, my dad was like, "You're like Jesus on the cross, son. You've got to turn sideways, not stand going." And that was it. Just, once you get that feeling, you just, that's why we still run down to the beach when you're 61, I'm nearly 50. But still, when you see it good, you still run towards it, don't you? You're like, come on, let's go and get it.
The froth is real, isn't it, mate?
So yeah, I went back to Australia in 1999. So I'd had cancer. The first time I had cancer was in 1998. Recovered from that and kind of to re-engage with life and the joy of life. Went to Australia for a year and we travelled up the east coast from Newcastle, just hitting all those spots on the. It wasn't the Greyhound bus. It was it McCavity's, the other bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, up the east coast on that. Costa Tuncurry, Costa, just stopping at all Byron Bay, a few, 10 days in Byron, went to Kira, Coolangatta. And in the recovery from the cancer, to be just reconnected with the joy of life and going through cancer treatment for anyone is horrible. I'd had radiotherapy. It was midway through it, I was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Just I'm ready to die. And the guy who'd take me to hospital was like, "No, come on, you've got to go to hospital today. Just do it." And it. So.
I didn't know you had it. I didn't know you had it prior to the. So now it came back when you were 47, mate. But where was the first cancers?
The first cancer was a lump in my neck.
Right.
Like I say, and I found that on Christmas Day, 1997.
Wow.
Woke up in bed with my girlfriend at the time, just went, "Oh, I've got a weird lump in my neck." Didn't think anything of it. Went to a Christmas dinner with my mum. As I said, she was a nurse. She was like, "Oh, there'll be nothing, don't worry about it, but go and get it checked out after Christmas." So
yeah,
went and they examined it, whatever, took a biopsy. I think they took it out. And then had the surgery. And then on the day I was due to get the results was Friday the 13th of February. And I went in to the room. And the doctor was there, nurse there, and they were like, I think it was at the hospital where my mum worked, and they were like, "You might want to go and get your mum." Bear in mind, I'm 22 years old, so I was like, "Oh, right, okay." So I went They didn't really say you've got cancer. They said you've got Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I was like, okay, right, okay. And then I got out and said to Mum, I said, what's going on? She went, you've got cancer, son. I was like, what? So had the radio, successful treatment, and then 2022, jump forward 25 years, I'm swimming with my family, my wife, my daughter, her daughter, my son. We're at the top of the water slide waiting to go down, and my son says to me, I'm cold, Dad, can you pick me up? I picked him up, and in the action of picking him up, I must have just touched my neck, and I felt a lump in exactly the same place it had been 25 years ago, and it was like, wow. Immediately, like, your stomach drops, doesn't it? And the chances, so even in that split second of feeling it, it's almost like time slows down and 1,000 thoughts are going through your brain. And immediately I thought the chances of this being a coincidence in exactly the same place are so remote. Luckily I went to the doctors the next day. He said, with your medical history, this looks sinister. And it's like, all right, okay. 2 weeks later, I went to see a specialist, ear, nose and throat. He put I think it's an endoscopy camera up my nose. Had a look. He said, there's nothing in your throat. And then went for an ultrasound. They were doing that. Took a couple of biopsies out of it. Maybe 2 weeks later, again, got a phone call just as we're about to go out with me and my wife and a daughter. There's a beautiful tidal river to the other side of Newquay, to the other side of Bristol, where you just call the Gannel, and it's high tide and it's tidal, and you can cruise down it as the tide's coming in. Get on your paddleboard, cruise down it with the tide, get to the bottom. The tide turns, it just sucks you, and it's beautiful. Summer's evening with the sunset there and Cranston. Honestly, it's stunning. Anyway, literally about to go out the door, phone call from a doctor. He says, we've identified the lump in your neck, Stephen. I was like, okay. He went, it's a sarcoma. I was like, okay, what's that? He went, it's cancer. I was like, oh, okay. And I said, so what's next? He went, we don't deal with it. They're incredibly rare. We don't deal with it here. You'll get referred on to Derriford Hospital in Plymouth. I was like, right, okay. He's like, anything else I can do for you? I was like, don't so to me. And we went to the Gannel and went paddleboarding, and it was almost, obviously the news you've got cancer is horrible, but knowing that's what it was, okay, right, that's what I've got to deal with. And I listened to your episode with John earlier, and talking about how he was going back on the tour, and that is my goal. I'm going to set that goal, and I'm going to focus on that. And almost the news that, yes, it is cancer, it's like, okay, that's the job at hand then, to deal with that, to get through this as best I can.
You're a father. And
then, everything was in 2 week cycles. So 2 weeks after being notified, we got a letter through that was for Derriford Hospital. It was for the plastic surgery department. And I said to my wife, I said, what? Why are they sending me to the plastic surgery department? I've got cancer. Why aren't they sending me to the oncology? Or why are they sending me to? I don't get it. Why are they sending me to plastic surgery? And the names of the surgeons were like, they had military titles. So the lead surgeon was Captain Surgeon Professor Rory Rickard, and it also listed Lieutenant Colonel Taylor. And I said to my wife, I was like, what's with the names? I don't get the names of these guys. Captain Surgeon Professor Rory Rickard. What? They obviously knew the severity of, because it felt like the size of a golf ball, and in effect it was probably like an iceberg, where you only have the tip of the iceberg showing, don't you? But under the water. So we get flashed out. It felt like a golf ball, and I'd read on the sarcoma website, sarcomas are normally treated with surgery. I thought, oh right, brilliant. No radio, no chemo. They're just going to operate and take this thing out. I'm not even going to need to tell the kids I've got cancer. This is brilliant, fantastic.
Yeah, right.
We get up there, and he's in Captain Surgeon Professor Rory Rickard. I always give him his full title for some reason. I don't know why. Just because of the gravitas of the man, I think. Because he saved my life, I think, you know what, I'm always going to refer to as Captain Surgeon Professor Rory Rickard. And he's telling me about how they get it out and how they need at least 10 millimeters of good flesh around it for the incision to basically encapsulate the cancer in a shell, I guess. But how the nature of this it was called a myxofibrosarcoma. Likelihood is it was caused by the radiotherapy. So the radiotherapy that had treated me 25 years earlier there is a possibility that led to the secondary cancer I had.
Understood.
And he's telling me all about it. And at the end, he just went, Stephen, far right possibility here is we may need to amputate your arm. And I swear to you, Bart, and this is no word of a lie, I went, you can't amputate my arm, I'm a surfer.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and I went, I'm my job, I'm a telecoms engineer. I said, you can't amputate my arm, it's not happening. And at the back, Lieutenant Colonel Taylor, I always make him sound like the Grim Reaper, really, standing at the, he went, this will kill you, Stephen.
Oh, Struth. Yeah, he didn't
And
mix his words.
I'm not going to pretend that I didn't just weep. I just started sobbing. I just broke down. And, you know, they were amazing. They were like, we understand this is a lot for you to get your head around. And, you know, and like, so we're going to send you for another scan. Send you for a scan this Friday. And we'll get a much clearer picture of it. And we'll meet you back here in a week's time. And we'll know much more. I was like, right, okay. So I went for the scan. Went back a week later. I have never been as anxious in my life. I couldn't sit still. I was like trying to press myself against the walls to relieve tension. We could hear them in the next room and just sort of laughing about certain things. And I said to them, after they're laughing in there, I said, that must be a good sign. They would not be laughing if they were going to chop my arm off. You're like trying to cling on to anything you can. Is there something? And this time there was another surgeon with him, a guy called Mr. Marksbank, the thoracic surgeon, and he just said, how do you feel about what we told you last week? And I went, well, you said that you might amputate my arm. He went, we are going to amputate your arm, Stephen, on your shoulder, on your collarbone, on 3 ribs, possibly 4 ribs, and a proportion of your chest wall. And in a strange way, that didn't hit as hard as the week before. Part of me in my mind, I said to a friend of mine, they said they're going to amputate me. I said, no chance, mate. They're just covering the back. There's no chance that's going to happen. They're just telling you that, but they'll roll back from that. And I was thinking, I don't think they will, mate. I've got a feeling. And then this was in maybe the 10th of July, sometime second week of July. I remember my wife saying to me, so when are you thinking of operating? They went 4th of August. What? 4th of August? And my wife was like, why is that? Is it getting near his heart? He went, no, it's getting near his lungs. And if it gets in his lungs, that's it. He said, so 3 weeks.
There's urgency to getting it out of there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then he said, we were like, but we need a second opinion. I can't just let you cut my arm off with. And he went, no, we absolutely insist you get a second opinion. We would all do the same. Get a second opinion.
Yep.
And you think 3 weeks isn't a lot of time to find a way out of this. You need to find a way out of this. No way you're chopping my arm off. No way.
Right.
And you start scouring the internet. You trying to read where someone's been through this and have found a way out of it. And in the run up to it, an old friend of mine and a guy his brother who I'd been to school with, he's actually an actor, but he's ended up doing a lot of work for an organisation called the Soldiers, Sailors, Air Force and Families Association, and he does a lot of work with guys who've returned from war zones and had bits blown off them and been, you know, all the trauma associated with war. Do you know what I mean? And he started ringing me up, Anthony, and he was like, my brother told me what you're going through, and I've got a bit of experience of helping people, and if you want my help, I'm happy to help you. And I thought, thank you, Anthony. And he had the weird ability of he wouldn't ring me up every day, he wouldn't ring me up every other day. But I would always like him for a guardian angel that somehow, when I was going under with the weight of it and thinking, oh my God, I'm getting my arm cut off, I'm not even going to survive the surgery, it's 14 hours, I've had cancer once, I've had sepsis, is this the third time looking for the Grim Reaper, is this it?
Yeah.
And there's an element of, I mean, you had your own surgery, didn't you, with your back, but there's an element of when you go in and the anaesthesia hits you and you're out, if you die on the operating table, you're none the wiser, are you? They go out and tell my wife, and then she's got to deal with it to tell everyone else. And in my mind, thinking, God, I don't want what's left behind if I don't survive. But I remember a phone call with Anthony, and I was like, I'm scared, mate. I'm scared. I'm going to die. I'm scared. I'm not going to see my kids grow up. I'm scared. And he just said to me, let go of the fear. The fear weighs too much. You can't carry the fear. And for some reason, that line just changed my perception. It's like, right, okay, this is happening. There's no way out of it. I know why it's happening. I've got a great big cancer tumour that's going to kill me if they don't take it out.
Yeah.
And then not in any bullish way or with bravado.
No.
With about a week to go, it's like, right, come on, let's just get this done. Let's just get to that hospital and get this surgery done. And then as soon as I thought, first job is get to surgery, get in the hospital, let them do what they need to do, wake up, and then come round in hospital. Yeah. They said to me 3 weeks, you're likely to be in hospital for 3 weeks. It's like, right, okay. They discharged me after 11 days. I just thought, right, if I get out of hospital, do whatever I need to do to get out of hospital, get home, rest, allow my body to heal, and then I almost break it down into just manageable stages. Not think, right, in February I need to be surfing again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like,
yeah.
Well, another pod I've listened to, as much as I said to him the first time, you're not taking my arm off.
Yeah.
My mind almost already split. Right, Bethany Hamilton, she surfs with one arm. She does it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm in any way,
No.
I'm not Bethany Hamilton, but she has shown what can be done. And I don't need to do it as well as her. I just only need to do it. I was never as good a surfer as her with two arms, so I'm not going to be as good as her with one arm, but it's like, it can be done. And probably the impact, I mean, she's probably aware of the impact of, because she's an incredible giving person, isn't she?
Yeah.
What she does, all the Ohana movement she does for mothers and the Beautifully Flawed Foundation, all those things she does to pass her energy on or whatever it is, or a good spirit to enable others. But I've never met her, I've never spoke to her. Yeah. But she gave me hope, and I think in those situations, what you need more than anything, is hope, isn't it? If you got, okay, I can, and I did think I'm going to surf again, but there's not a chance that I can't try it. So that's the kind of story about it.
Right. And they took your arm off. Lean to this side a little bit and show the people. Look, so that's where they took your. And then, in those deepest moments of confronting, because for Bethany it was an accident in a moment of terror that you don't have to build up to that. You had it told to you, and for 6 weeks or whatever that period of time was, where it was a potential possibility that you would lose it through all the way through to where you did. It's all the way through to us talking today, mate. I love you, mate. My heart goes out to you. And when you first reached out to me, and I knew what your, started to understand what your journey was, I was like, what a wonderful story, mate. And you said it to me in our first brief chat. You have managed to turn this enormous negative into something positive, and you've stayed around to see your kids grow. That, to me, surfing whatever, right? Yeah. The fact that you got your kids and you're around for them still, that's a beautiful thing. And then the fact that, tell us a little bit about what surfing, how you saw Bethany. There was this avenue of potential and hope that you were given from seeing what Bethany had been through.
Yeah. For some reason, I made the decision. I thought, I'm going to be a kneeboarder. I'm going to kneeboard, because it takes the paddling element out of it, doesn't it? You've got flippers, you can just hit. And I thought, what, I'm going to be a kneeboarder. And me and a friend of mine had done like the RNLI beach lifeguard course, just to be something to do, really. But after, when you do those lifeguarding courses, you get incredibly fit, don't you? It's like all the swimming and the rest of swimming out with a tube and swimming back with someone is tiring, isn't it? It's not easy. So, but because you've been on that course and you tend to ride the rescue board on your knees, don't you? If you catch well on the rescue board, you very rarely stand up on it, but you ride on your knees. And we'd had a really good time riding the rescue board, those knee board, this is amazing. Because you get stroke into everything on the rescue board, don't you? And so whether that had influenced me, or George Greeno, or, all the films he did, whether that had planted a seed in my head, right, kneeboarding. And it was really good actually because I knew, I thought, don't even try and rush getting back in the sea. Just check out of it. And I filled my surf bits by taking pictures actually. I'd go out and just through the winter, I've got a reasonable lens, not an incredible one, but
Yeah.
just taking pictures and posting them on different Facebook groups and just of average Joe surfers. And it was really nice when people go, that's me, mate. I don't suppose you've got the pic. I said, oh, I've got half a dozen of you. And they go, oh, would you mind sending them to me? I'm like, absolutely. Because as an average Joe surfer, you very, very rarely get pictures taken of you, do you? They're always going to focus on the better surfers. That's just the way it is. So that satiated my desire for surfing a bit, and it felt like quite an altruistic thing to do. That, yeah, I've got some pictures of you, mate. And they were like, oh, I'll give you money. You don't need to give me money. If you want to donate to cancer research, put a couple of quid in the sub next time you see it. That'd be amazing. So that filled me through winter, and I got through the winter, and then it was a beautiful day, spring day at the end of February. Me and my wife had been for a walk on Fistral. Obviously, you know Fistral. We had a coffee, and I was looking at it, and I was like, Catherine, that's 3 to 4 foot at Fistral. That's going to be 2 foot in the bay. I think today's the day. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get in. And I messaged my daughter. I said, right, Isabel, I'm going in the sea. Do you want to come in with me? She's like, yeah, Dad, I'll come. So me and her walked down the beach. I've got a customised wetsuit now, but my wife took the arm in the wetsuit, and we walked down with just 2 old sort of beaten up boards, just went in the sea, man, and I kneeboarded a few waves, but you will know this, and any surfer will know, surfing isn't just getting waves, is it? It's being in the ocean. It's like when you paddle over one that's just breaking, and when you duck dive under, there's all just sitting in it, and obviously the bit on the ride in the wave is the bit we do it for, but all the constituent parts of it make it what it is, don't they? There's no better feeling than stroking over one, and you see it's different for you guys in Hawaii because you've been 30-foot things, but 3 to 4 foot, it's still nice to paddle over them or to duck dive and feel the energy. So it's like, wow, okay, I'm in the water, I've done that, I've survived that. And I put a post on the kneeboard group saying, put the pictures on of me surfing on the foamy. And I was like, I'm looking at kneeboard, I've had my arm amputated. Has anyone got an old board that I need to put? It not really bothered what condition it's in because I want to put some handles on it and adapt it, but I'm not sure how that'll work yet. And I must have had a dozen people message me saying, mate, I've got a board in the garage you can have. And it's like, no, honestly, I don't want it for free. And honestly, mate, reading your story, that board sitting in the garage collecting dust, it's yours if you want it. And then, luckily enough, a guy 2 doors down, a guy called Matt Rundle, he messaged me. So I've got an old CJ board, and CJ, Chris Jones, was one of the kind of original new P surfers who was the British champion, went on to be a shaper. I thought, wait, it's Chris Jones, mate, CJ. And he went, yeah, it's too small for me now. If you want it, you can't give me a CJ, mate. That's like a vintage. That's Christian. Honestly, I want you to have it. And you're like, and I still see him now, and he's a lovely guy. And me and him surfed maybe 2 months ago. He's just in the water, he paddled over. He's like, yes, mate, you're out. I was like, yeah. He went, that's the thing. I was like, yeah, that's the board, mate. Yeah. And just, as I said to you yesterday, that I have met so many beautiful, amazing, warm, kind-hearted, compassionate, empathetic people over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
That I would not have met had this not happened. And as horrific and as traumatic and as frightening as it is, the people it has brought into my life as a result, my life would be poorer for not having met them. Do you know what I mean? And not having interacted with them. And
that is that's such a beautiful thing, isn't it? And that's your ability. That's why you are doing and living like you are, because you've got that ability to find the good and attach to the good in a moment, even as dire as the one you've been through. You still find reason and hope and get up and go, brother.
I think you said it in when you were speaking to John about your dad, and that was that illustrated to you at 11 or 12, was it, the fragility of life?
Yeah.
And having had cancer when I was 22, when you're 22, you think you're indestructible, don't you? You don't have any thought of old age or being old. you think you're infinite, really, don't you?
Totally.
You think you're finite, you think you're immortal, but at 22, when you're like, oh, right, I've got cancer. Cancer kills people. And all of a sudden, your mindset changes that, oh, right, okay, we are only here for 70 or whatever, however you want to dress
Yeah.
it up. 70,
This this
plus,
moment
if
right
you're
now.
lucky, I see people say, oh, no, 50's coming. And I think the other way. I think, oh, wow, I'm going to make 50. Wow, I'm going to make 50. I hope I make
Yeah.
60. I hope I make 70. You know what I mean? I want to be around because as much as there is pain and loss, and you've experienced it in a different way, I've experienced it, but life is still beautiful, isn't it? Life,
Oh, mate.
isn't it? There's so much to be enjoyed, and I'm absolutely convinced there's more of us, the good guys, than there are the bad guys. But we need to unite the good guys, don't we? Because
Yeah.
there's more of us. There's more caring, compassionate, kind, warm people who. There's more of us than them. That's all I'm saying.
Ah, there has to be. And that's been your experience. That's my experience of life. I've been buoyed along the way by so many great people. And when you're in the shit and life's, dealing you those hands, and one of the ones for me, there was dad passing obviously when I was 11, and then I had a heart attack 9.5 years ago. Lion was 6 months old, and I was an older dad who didn't, you know what I mean, have a young child who didn't have a dad around. And then I'm an older dad, and I'm thinking, I don't want to have a child right now, because what if something happens to me and I leave that kid alone, or he loses me? And so 6 months in, he's 6 months old, I'm on the heart attack. I'm laying on the table having a heart attack, confronting that mortality and that reality of the fragility of life, as you said, and looking her in the eye and go, we're still here. And it's been 10. And so I look at it the same as you do. I'm so grateful for every moment that I'm still here, that I get to share with my kids, get to share with, this opportunity with you, for you to tell your story, and touches my heart, mate. It's a beautiful thing. So then you started Chop Surf, and tell us about, because this is a wonderful part of the story too, isn't it?
I think we're referring back to your other pods, but much like you and John was saying, that the part of it was, because of the severity of the amputation, because I haven't got a shoulder, when I
Yeah.
came out of hospital, you put your hospital pajamas on and the sleeve was just drooping down, and I just thought, I can't wear clothes like that.
Yeah.
It looked sorry for itself. And I thought, if I'm going to walk around with the sleeve of my sagging off me, part of it was I wanted to empower myself, and and I said to my daughter before, I think I might start my own clothing brand, Isabel, because I'm going to have to get clothes that I can customise.
Yeah. Yeah.
She
Yeah.
said, what do you call it, Dad? I went, I don't know. Amp's been used. I was like, maybe chop, because that's what's happening, is chopping my arm off.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, that's a good idea, Dad. I said, I might take the vowels out, though, Izzy, to
Yeah.
represent the
Right.
missing bit. So if it's just CHPD, it's just no one, but it's.
Yeah.
He didn't really do anything about it. And then a good friend of mine, and I've got to give him a shout out, Instagramsky, because he's supported me so much. He's a creative genius. He's a great designer. He came down, and a few of my mates came down maybe 2-3 weeks after the op to see me how he's doing. And I was like, yeah. So, but I'm thinking I need to start my own clothing brand so I can adapt my clothes, because I want to cut the arm off. I said, I don't want to chop up all my old Volcoms. I've got loads of original Volcom stuff from when they were started. And I thought, what, the kids might want that when they're 18, 19, 20, a load of. I don't want to chop the arms off it. They might want it. It'd be cool then. It'd be like 30 years old, vintage Volcom or vintage Stussy or whatever. You think, don't. But I don't want to go to the shop and buy a hoodie for whatever £100. I have to chop the arm off, then get someone to adapt it. So, get my own brand. Friends of mine just started saying, brilliant, where can I buy them? I was like, well, you can't buy them. I just got some made. He went, get some made, we'll buy them. And it was probably 20, 30, 40 people. I was like, oh, okay. And
Wow.
going into winter, I'm not a winter person massively. And surfing through the winter is a bit, I'm sure for a lot of people it's a relief. But if you're having a bad day and you can get in the sea, all of a sudden a bad day can become, you can walk out, you're like, that's a good day. It wasn't buzzing actually. But not this morning, but I just caught half a dozen really nice waves. I'm the world's all right again.
Yeah.
But I knew going through winter I wouldn't be able to surf, and I was very conscious that I had to manage my mental health and my state of mind, and I needed a project, or I needed something to engage me through winter,
Yes.
so I wasn't just dwelling on I've had my arm cut off,
Yeah.
my life's never going to be the same. Look at me. I'll always be really self-conscious of how I look now because I look so different. But doing the clothing became just a mental health project. It was something, and I thought there's got to be grants out there for disabled people. There's got to be some money available for someone in my, and managed to get on a startup business course, and you do the units or whatever. And if they approved your business plan, they would give you some money to start your business. So I did that.
Yep.
Got the money. We had a t-shirt run. At the time, it was called the Top Surf Co. It was like
Yes.
I think it's Peter Crumb, wasn't it? He went watching that on the pod you did the other week where he goes, "Really, car, what's that in mine?" And it was like, "Oh, brilliant! I love it." And yeah, it became more than anything. It was a mental health project, and it was something to throw myself into that I could. And it's weird. I was left-handed, and through doing the orders, I used to write the orders in a book, but I had to learn to write with my right hand. And I always thought, because Wilf was at school, I thought, oh, I'll use his writing book from school because that's what I'll need to do. But by writing these orders down and not really thinking, I relearned to write. And it's like, oh wow, this has had a purpose. This has had a positive effect because just by chance I've relearned to write, and it hasn't even been right. I need to sit down and learn to write. And then obviously you and I think you posted something on Instagram about finding positive and negative situations, and I replied to that, and you replied to my comment. I was like, no way, Barton. Oh wow, Barton Lynch has replied to my comment. This is amazing. Screenshot that and get that sent to the boys in the group chat.
Yeah.
They're like, wow, Barton, Barton, man. And then I thought, and someone said to me, see if he wants to speak to it. I went, oh, I can't do that. So what's he got to lose? Send him a message, ask him if he wants to speak to it. I was like, all right, yeah, I'll message him. And obviously you got back to me and it was like, wow, Secret's going over to Barton. And then you sent it, like, oh, this is amazing. And
here we are, mate.
Yeah, here we are chatting, like, and the thing, the only purpose the brand ever had was I just wanted clothes that I could cut the arm off, and you need a bit more of an ethos, don't you? You need something a bit greater, and what it turned into is I wrote all the names down. I won't read them out because there's so many of them.
Give them a shout out. These are so. Let's set up why these. You've started to support some young kids, and giving them some t-shirts. Tell that story of the day.
Yeah. So down the skate park, and the original team rider Josh Griff, he came up to me and went, "Are you the one-armed surfer?" And I went, "Yeah, I am." He went, "Oh man, you're so cool." And I was like, Oh, thank you. Thanks, mate. What's your name? He's like, I went, oh, that's really kind of you. And then I kept bumping into him down the skate park and wearing one of the top and he went, "Is that your brand?" I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh man, that's so cool. I was like, oh, thanks, Josh. Brilliant. I went, funny enough, I've got a load of extra small men's stuff that I'm probably not going to sell. Do you want it? And he was like, oh, yeah, amazing stuff. Drove it up to his house, or my wife drove me up, and his mum was there, and he's like, oh, he's made his day. I was like, oh, fantastic. And he's lovely. He's really, got empathy, he's got compassion, he's accepting. We're really proud of him. He's a lovely boy. And I gave him the stuff, and he went, "Does this mean I'm sponsored then?" I was like, "Oh, not really, mate. Just you've been really sound, and this is my way of repaying you being sound. I'm just trying to be sound back." I got in the car and my wife said, "What did you say?" Because his face lit up and then it sort of dropped. And he said, "Well," I said, he asked if he was a team rider. He said, "What did you say?" I went, "Well, no, I haven't got team riders. I don't do team riders." But telling me in. Just telling me in. So I went, right, okay. So I got back a message and went, "Hey, listen, mate, if you want to be a team rider, I'd love to have you on board." And then I don't know if word got out at the skate park that the guy with one arm will give you t-shirts if you're down. I don't know what happened, Josh Griff, Nate, Lowen, Ryan, Tanya, Zach Briggs, Nug, Finn Manton, Keone, Elise, Lola Skate, Poppy, Lacey, James Dakin, Danny Naylor, Ollie Rogers, and Rocky Palmer. It's not a business he's making lots of money because I give so much stuff away. But as we just said, the thing about turning negatives into positive. Whenever they send me a video and tag the Chop Collective in it and they're wearing one of the t-shirts, I can't really. That just brings me joy that something good has come out of it. And Zach went on to win the UK Vert Series. He's an overall winner. Ryan took third in Survival of the Sickest, the Skate GB comp. Nug came third in the Women's Vert comp. And I'm like, wow, they ride for Chop.
Yeah.
The winner of the UK Vert Series is a Chopped rider, and it's like, I just love that. And I think, like you and John were saying, that the brands that I grew up with, like Billabong and Rip Curl and Quicksilver, are so far gone now from surf brands, haven't they? That they're just owned by hedge funds or whatever. And I think that's why, like Florence, it's owned by a surfer, isn't it? And I guess what the other guys do with the merch, with Jamie O'Brien, what they do, at least you know that that's an authentic brand because they're out surfing all the time. And I don't ever expect to get where, Florence Marine is because I'm not John Florence. But at least it's a true root surf brand that is owned by a surfer, a skater. It's a core brand, isn't it?
A frother.
Me and my son were sat having something to eat, and a friend of mine, Instagramsky, messaged me and said, "Seen Barton's wearing a Chop tee." I was like, "Is it? How do you know?" He went, "It's on the Stoked Bloke." I went, "Oh, is it?" He sent me the link, and I was like, "No way." Yeah, Barton's fully ripping the tee. Wow. Wasn't it continuous to mention me, innit? And he's chatting about Cole Smith, like you speak about Cole Smith, but he's what a guy, just unreal. But he looks like he's got beautiful energy. I don't know him, but just watching him, he just seems like a really humble, down to earth. Anyway, you go from mentioning him doing an 8-second barrel at backdoor. I'm like, it's me. That's not me. And then you're straight into talking about Cole Hoffman and then having the shootout for who's the...
Yeah, brother. No, you know what? Because it ain't about the way you ride the wave. It's not about what you ride the wave on. It's not about how good or bad you are at that thing. What it's about is the goodness in your heart and what you bring to the riding of the waves and what you share with other people through the stoke that gives you. And that's why you and I connected, because I could feel you across the seas, mate. And I could feel that you loved it, mate. And I knew you were going through your stuff, and we said that when we had a brief chat yesterday, like everybody who gets to live goes through stuff, and it's a part of the journey of life. And in a lot of ways, for me, to die, you've got to have lived first, and to be so worried about the death part of it when just now, right now, we got it. You're alive, mate. You're surviving. It hasn't come back. Right, you have where you at this point in time in terms, because that's it's only 2.5. You're heading into 3 years ago that you lost the arm.
Yeah. Can I give a shout out to Poppy Skates because I got distracted there. The energy that the beautiful positive energy that came my way from you on the podcast. I spoke to Poppy's mum maybe 2 weeks early on Instagram. Said, "Wow, she's absolutely ripping," and she messaged me saying, "Oh, she's been incredibly ill over the last 2 years. She's been in and out of hospital. She's not in school, but she found skating 6 months ago, and it's absolutely changed her life. It's become her everything." And I was like, "Oh, that's amazing." And then that evening, after I'd seen the winter roundup, saw her dropping in up at the vert ramp at Mount Hawke, and it's a big old vert ramp, and she's only maybe 11 or 12-year-old girl. It's only little. But just dropped in on this, you're like, wow. And then skating around, absolutely brilliant. And I went to bed that night, I was still buzzing, and I woke up, I thought, I've got to somehow pass on the positive waves that have come my way from, and I thought, I'm going to message Poppy's mum. I don't really need any more team riders, because I'm...
But I can't.
And there's no one story
Yeah.
I just felt that her story was so similar to mine. To what surfing did for me, what it brought, it gave me purpose, it gave me hope. That, and anyway, messaged her mum, and she was, I think she said that message has made me cry. That you
Mm.
recognise the fight in Poppy, that you recognise what she's been through means the world to me. And sent her some, what's it, those clothes have cost me, what, 30, £35, whatever.
Yeah.
It's nothing, is it? And share the Stoke, man. I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you, you know
Poppy,
it.
we love you, Poppy. All of us are there supporting you. We're proud of you. And Steve, we're proud of you too, mate. Talk to us about when you were becoming a kneeboarder, did you know that you were becoming a part of a culture that was extremely quirky? The kneeboarders are maybe some of the quirkiest surfers in the world. The great characters of yesteryear. Peter Crawford was a great friend of mine, an incredible kneeboarder, a great character. Michael Novikov's an amazing surfer, amazing kneeboarder. There's so many that history of them as being characters is quite strong. I think you fit in good.
I've got a bit quirky, yeah. I only really knew it through George Greeno, really. And
Yeah.
having, obviously, learning to surf in Australia, at the time, I remember getting I think it was called Surf Boats Down Under, a sort of book for Christmas, and it had loads of stuff about surfing in, but then it had some of the more niche things. It had a bit of kneeboarding in. I think it had early 80s, the surf skis became a thing, didn't it? So it had a bit of
Yeah.
surf skiing in,
Yep.
maybe a bit of windsurfing. So it might have been, but I didn't know it massively. But I think and I didn't know if it had, I didn't know, genuinely thought, it's not going to be as good as stand-up surfing, because part of me probably thought, people only kneeboard because they can't stand up. Why would you, if you can stand up, that's where it's at, isn't it? And my perception on all that has changed over the last 2 years through
Yeah.
being in the para surf comps and seeing people surf pro and seeing people. It don't matter how you're doing it.
No.
The stoke is the stoke, innit? The feeling of going across the wave, it doesn't matter how you choose to go across it, is the feeling of going across the wave. So what I found with the kneeboarding is, because it's niche, because it's fringe, the community is strong. It's tight, really, and
Yeah.
you are right that it's much bigger in the southern hemisphere with like grizzly old Australians and South Africans, but they get deeper in the barrel than anyone.
I
They
ever.
And when you start watching really good kneeboarders, you're like, okay, wow, these guys rip. These guys absolutely rip. And it took me, part of me thought, because I've surfed for 40 years, part of me did think, right, kneeboarding, what's going to happen? The first time I properly go out, I'm going to paddle out there. Muscle memory's going to kick in. I'm just going to paddle for a wave. I'm going to get to my knees and I'm going to surf it in. Job done. I'll be kneeboarding. It didn't go that way. It didn't go that way at all. Text my mate, BWJ, my homie, my boy, and I was like, mate, I'm ready to get in. It's a small day in the bay. Let's get in. And he went, sure. Surfline's saying it's 2 to 4 foot. I said, nah, I'm here looking at it, mate. It's 2 foot, be fine. Get in the wetsuit, walking down the steps. He went, that looks bigger than 2 foot to me. And I was thinking, well, it looks bigger than 2 foot to me as well. But I thought, I'm not going to let on that I'm a bit worried here. We get down to the shore and putting the flippers on. I'm like, okay, that looks
Way
a lot
bigger than
bigger
I
than
thought.
2 foot. How am I even going to get? I don't even really know what I'm doing here. Started kicking. Didn't even know how to use the flippers really. I was kicking like with my legs out. There's water splashing everywhere. Wasn't going anywhere. Anyway, I don't know how long it took. I managed to get out after getting wiped. Jumping off the board, holding the. I got out. He's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Oh, hey, I'm blowing. I'm blowing." He went, "But you're out." And I went, "Yeah, actually, I'm out. I made it. I'm out. Yeah." Paddle for some waves. Just had no idea of how to get to my knees. It was a lot bigger than I thought. It's probably, I don't know. I don't want to exaggerate. It was maybe a good 3 foot,
That's
3.5 foot.
right.
You know, 6 foot face. It's big enough, is it? When you didn't get any waves and one broke, and I thought, oh, get it. But I thought, you know what? You made it out. You made it back. That's one objective achieved.
Mm-hmm.
And then surf, maybe I was getting in, but wasn't getting any waves. Would maybe get to my knees on one and come off, and there started to become a bit of an element of I don't want to go. I don't want to go because I know I'm not going to get any waves, and that's just going to frustrate me. And if I don't go, I don't get frustrated. But there's part of me going, well, if you want to surf again, you are going to have to accept the frustration, the disappointment, because this isn't going to be what you thought. This isn't going to be just paddle out on your knees, you're ripping.
Yeah.
And then I think you might know him, a guy called Grishka Roberts. He was the European champion.
An old friend.
You do know Grishka, yeah.
Great surfer.
And I've sort of half known Grishka and surfed with him a few times. Incredible surfer, still absolutely. And I bumped into him and he's like, how you doing? I went, yeah. I've seen your pictures getting in and incredible. I went, I'm not really getting any waves, mate. He went, you just had your arm cut off 6 months ago. You're in the sea. That's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I was like, he went, just, he was like, you're being too hard on yourself. But just take a step back and just be amazed with yourself that you're getting out. He went, I don't know if he said just enjoy it, but the fact, I was like, you know what, he's got a point there. That when you start surfing as a kid,
you're funny.
You don't go down the beach. You weren't at Whale Beach thinking, you know what, the first few times you went out, you're not thinking, right, I'm going to get on this wave and I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
You just get a wave, don't you? And if you get to your feet, it's great. And if you don't, you just paddle back. And that reconnected me with the mentality of a child that just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just get out there. And I stopped paddling out back and I thought, you know what, just get white, just get broken waves and learn the technique of going from prone to getting to your knees. And then one afternoon I just did that and that's all I did. And I thought, right, I thought I can get to me. And life is about confidence, isn't it? I guess when you guys go out and the first time you turn up at Pipeline and it's 20 foot and barreling, you're not going out there straight away, are you? Building up to it, you're gaining your confidence. I think, and if you surfed it at 10 foot, let's say, and you survived and you've got a good wave, you think, right, okay, next time it's 12 foot.
3 foot.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
And I've got a few in the sea, and then we have a wave pool, you know, the wave garden technology. We had one of them up at Bristol, and I went up there with two mates of mine, Jim and Cam, and we had 3 surf books over the 2 days, 2 on the Saturday, 1 on the Sunday, and Saturday. And you know what the wave pools are like, because everybody's lined up watching you, aren't you? And you think,
daunting.
What you don't want to do is stack it first wave, do you? Like, no, I don't want to. Anyway, first 2 I stacked it and just going down the face. I was like, and I think the third one, I got to my knees and I rolled it to the inside and I thought, oh my God, yeah, I did it. Paddle back out, got the neck. It's like, oh my God, I'm on, I can do it here. Because it's the same wave every time and it's the same takeoff. You can just keep practicing that skill, can't you?
Yeah.
That surf was okay. I maybe made 60% of them, and I was like, okay, yeah. And then went out in the maybe 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I think I made 95% of the waves. I was ripping, and you're on your knees, and because we're on the right, you can get your hand in the wave, can't you? And when you knee, but you just jam your hand. I love the feeling of your hand in the water. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Simple.
And they're almost coming over me. I'm like, and my mate was on the inside. It was like, honestly, mate, no one's surfing this as well as you. You are absolutely killing it. I was like, honestly, mate, watching him is unbelievable. So I could cry.
Yeah.
And I got out, and it was like, wow, I can do it. And then I had a few drinks that night, went back Sunday morning. I thought, there's no way I can match what I did yesterday. I can't better that. And not saying I did better it, but it was probably as good. And I came back to Newquay with like a renewed belief, renewed confidence that, right, I can do this.
Yeah.
And then summer surfing fine, it was first 3 to 4 foot and it was just out. And then seeing people that sort of knew what had happened, they're like, mate, you're back in the water. I'm like, yeah, they were like, I was thinking about not coming in today for whatever reason, but mate, you're in the water, you're in all the time, but and you're like, thanks, yeah, I just love surfing.
You're living.
Amazing. And my mate Jim said to my mum when me and Catherine had like a wedding party, he went, it's a good job he had surfing, isn't it? And my mum went, yeah, absolutely, it's a good job. He went, because that was just his motivating factor in all of it, was going to surf again. The reason to go to the gym, the reason to go swimming, the reason not to give up was to go surfing again, just to surf again, to have that feeling. That Bethany Hamilton quote, isn't it, where she said, "We're not afraid," or where she says, "My fear of not surfing was greater than my fear of being attacked by a shark again." And you're like, okay, yeah, I'm with you, Bethany, on that.
Oh,
The thought of giving it up, I just couldn't really countenance it. It just, I had to surf. And I'm sure you'll be the same. I'm sure 90% of surfers in my situation, whether it's a leg, whether it's a, find a way, don't we?
yeah. Yeah, we live in a time where opportunity and respect is being dispersed a little more broadly, and there's, the whole parasurfing movement and time. I remember going back 30 years, I was telling you I was patron of the Disabled Surfers Association of Australia. Gary Blasky was the great man who ran that organisation and did so much pioneering good work. I've got a good mate, Les Stixie Cox, Stixie, because he's got cerebral palsy and, Dad was born with 2 legs he has to drag around. But you don't let it stop him. He still goes, and he's still, there's these amazing stories of inspiration, and yours is one of them. I want to share one. I want to share one quick one too about that feeling of riding a wave that we were talking about, that you were sharing with us. When we were doing the disabled surfing stuff way back when, we took a visually impaired, unable to speak, and unable to hearing impaired person, surfing at Collaroy, which is a little white water. The white water was knee high, call it, and we walk out 25 metres on the sandbank, and she has her interpreter that she communicates through, and we get her a little wave, and she rides that on a soft top, on her belly, someone who can't see what she's doing, she can't hear what's going on, she can't communicate it. She's just, do you imagine how that focus that she lives with, how vastly different it is to someone who can't shut up. And we push her into the wave. She rides that wave, gets to the end, 25 metres, beaming, and through her interpreter, to her, it felt like flying. Wow. She said that felt just like flying. There was a little white water, and like that. So, as we get to recognise the value in just sliding on a wave and that feeling that it brings, it's your medicine too, right? Yeah,
man, absolutely. I feel very blessed to have found surfing.
Yeah.
My best, a lot of my best friends I've met through surfing, the times we've had together, the places we've been. I wouldn't have met them if it hadn't been surfing, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
So many wonderful, I think it gives you I don't know, it gives you more than just, opens your eyes to the world, doesn't it? There's all these amazing places, amazing cultures with amazing people that you can actually go surfing there, and you can
meet them and
immerse yourself in that culture. I know you said with John, we went to the Maldives last year. A good friend of mine paid for us to go for his 50th, took 7 of us to the Maldives. It's 2 years on from, we were there in June, so it's 2 years on from when all this was going on. To be in the Indian Ocean, to be surfing those waves, just feeling 3 to 4, 5 foot waves, just go on and on and on. Beautiful people, beautiful place. You're like, wow, how lucky am I to be here?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you take the wife back to the Maldives, but she wasn't happy that she didn't get an invite.
Next time, for sure.
Yeah.
Good reason for a second trip. Take her and the family. Mate, hey, I thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you would like? Oh, we didn't do was we didn't give a shout out to the coffee brand, the coffee company that you have started, another pet project. I love coffee.
Yeah. I'll send you a bag. I'll look what the custom rules are, mate. Whether I can send you a bag I'll send you a bag of dog patrol, definitely. Yeah, a little venture. Just as a disabled man, your employment opportunities are limited. So I'm trying to be a bit entrepreneurial. Mm-hmm. I love surfing. I love coffee. I've always had a little random idea of a coffee brand called Dawn Patrol Coffee, and I was fortunate enough with some friends of mine, we've brought Dawn Patrol to life. I should have had some ready to show you, but I haven't.
Yeah,
And basically, the USP of it is to store great tasting specialty coffees from areas of the world synonymous with great surfing. So
right.
currently we've got a Sumatran one, we've got a Costa Rican one, we've got a Brazilian, and then bringing 2 Peruvians, adding them to the range, and then hopefully some Nicaraguans. I know you can get coffee from Namibia, and they're all named after amazing waves. So, I'd love to do a big hitting sort of Namibian Skeleton Bay coffee sometime. But yeah, Dawn Patrol, www.dawnpatrol.co.uk. If you're in the UK and you want to get some specialty coffee from a one-armed surfer, check us out, man. But I'll send you a bag, Barton. Definitely.
Yes, mate.
It'd be my pleasure, man.
We'll give her a test run for you. And it's at the One Armed Surfer on Instagram.
Yeah, the one-armed surfer on Instagram. If anybody wants to watch a guy with one arm surfing and just wittering on, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about disability and living with disability, and just I did a video the other day of me doing my laundry, and that got loads of views, miles more than any of me surfing. I said to my wife, I was like,
"It's funny, the algorithm."
It's mad, isn't it? But yeah, man. Yeah, Barton, it's honestly, I can't thank you enough. You're such a genuine guy, and the chats we've had have been honestly, I'm thank you for your time, man. Thanks for
we support
sharing my story.
We love your spirit. We love your passion for life, and I love your courage, mate. Let's not, it's all stoke and all that stuff, but maybe you don't get to that point of being able to enjoy happiness, share in the beauty of your own life until you show the courage to kind of front up and be ready to accept whatever circumstances there. And you've had it thrown at you. You've accepted it, you've moved through it, you've gone to a place of positivity, started to share your love and stoke for living and surfing with people. So I'm happy to share it with people through the Stoked Bloke Show. We got you, mate. We'll keep in touch. We love you, and thanks for being our very first guest.
Well, I feel we do half the heart, Barton, but that's,
How do you do that? Yeah, I'll get you. Hold on. Where am I? There, coming in that way. 2 halves make a whole.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, love you,
Lovely.
mate.
Thank you. Thanks, Barton.